To Noce on Wednesday nights. This is our last Wednesday before we take a break, but a very, very short break. We're just going to be out next week only. Over half of the people in this band are educators and family members and have kids and all that, and we're going to take a little spring break, and then we'll be back the week following with this show again and with some more stuff that you did not hear tonight. So it'd be great if you could come back again and see us the following in 2 weeks, where we'll have some more music as well. Wanted to start by welcoming you all to our Woody Herman evening. We've got a lot of music to cover. We've got a lot of music that you won't hear tonight, some of which will end up on the next show, some of which is just going to get filed away to go on to a show in the fall. But we've got a lot of great stuff for you. We're going to try to do our best to give you little pieces of tunes across Woody Herman's career, all the different bands that he had from 1939 all the way through 1986, I believe. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Woody Herman. If you're not familiar, many are, but many are not. He was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1913, and he began performing at the age of 8 with his children's group that was in theaters. He was doing silent, they would dance and sing and do all that kind of stuff during silent movies. And just a couple of years later, he had already taken up saxophone and clarinet and music lessons and dance lessons, and he started doing some dance stuff as well in this Chicago vaudeville house, and people dubbed him the Boy Wonder, mostly for his dancing and entertaining. But by age 12, he knew he wanted to be a jazz musician. He was listening to a lot of that music, had been practicing a lot on his woodwinds, and he ended up joining the Tom Guerin Band, playing saxophone and clarinet with them, and then later with Harry Sosnick on some radio broadcasts, and later after that with Gus Arnheim. He got a huge break in 1934, and he joined the Isham Jones Orchestra, and he started singing at that time. So some of you are familiar with his singing on some of his albums as well. That's where that all started. In 1936, just a couple years later, he and some other members of that orchestra, which had already went defunct, formed their own ensemble, and they called it The Band That Plays the Blues. And they made several recordings for the Decca label, one of which you're hearing right now, which is Woodchopper's Ball, and that's what we're going to start off with tonight, too. And he thought that this would just be like a sleeper tune, just something he could throw out there. And little did he know that would become the biggest hit he ever had. He ended up selling more than 5 million copies. He had some groups, a lot of groups after that, and some of the most famous musicians in jazz went through his groups. People like Stan Getz, Zoot Sims, Flip Phillips, trumpeter Shorty Rogers, Pete and Conte Condoli, Sonny Berman, trombonist Bill Watrous, Jim Pugh, Bill Harris, pianist Ralph Burns and Jimmy Rolls, vibraphonist Milt Jackson, Red Norvo, Margie Hyams, and Terry Gibbs, and bassist Oscar Pettiford, Chubby Jackson, drummers Dave Tuff, Shelly Mann, and Ed Sof, and many others. By the early 1940s, recordings and newspaper advertisements were calling it the band that plays the blues, the Woody Herman Band. That seems like a super long name. They continued to play through about 1944 or so, and they started to become widely known as Woody Herman's Herd. And that name had been referred to that since the early 1940s. The Herd became super popular during World War II, and they ended up appearing on a bunch of radio broadcasts and sponsored by Old Gold cigarettes. And a lot of promotion with that Old Gold in Colombia turned them into one of the nation's biggest sensations. That's where they really took off and became #1 in the country. And in Woody Herman's words, pushed them to the very peak of popularity. But a lot of great tunes came out of that band, and in fact, Woody became known for hiring lots of fantastic young musicians, and it's why he became one of the most famous band leaders of all time. He never let that band get old. He got old, but the band never got old. Always keeping it fresh, lots of new musicians, lots of people that wrote for the band. You're going to hear a lot of those writers here. He preferred to keep the writers in the band because they knew the musicians the best. And they usually ended up featuring themselves on some of their own writing, of course. But they had a lot of fun with that. And one interesting note is that Woody Herman was the first to hire females in a band like that. The first was a trumpet player named Billy Rogers. She played with Woody Herman's band from 1941 to 43. And then a vibraphonist, who I just mentioned, Margie Hyams, and she was with them from 1944 to 1945. They ended up getting a huge contract and had a big concert at Carnegie Hall in 1946. And he became known as one of the top band leaders in the world. Of course, he was famous for his clarinet playing, but he was not quite the virtuoso that some of the other clarinet players were of the day. In 47, he formed the second herd, and that's when the instrumentation in the saxophone section changed from what you see right now. This is the standard 2 altos, 2 tenors Barry to a 3 tenor Barry front, which I think we do have that going on a little bit tonight, correct? I think on a couple of tunes. So you'll hear about that. That ended up lasting a couple years until about 1949. But some of the best composers wrote for that band, and that even though they disbanded in 1949, he formed, of course, a third herd, and it pretty much stayed and then became known as the Thundering Herd, and that's pretty much what he was known as throughout the course of the rest of his career until he passed away in 1987. In 86, they had a huge 50th anniversary concert for him, celebrating 100 years, 50th anniversary of his band leading. And they had lots of people came out for that concert, lots of people played on that concert. And it was at that time, that was just a year before he had passed, that he talked with Frank Tiberi, a saxophonist, about taking over the band at some point there because his health was suffering. Lots of amazing, there's a whole bunch more history to Woody Herman, but I want to get to the music tonight. But just know that he was one of the most prolific band leaders in that he hired so many incredible musicians and arrangers and composers that came through that band, who all, of course, went on to do their own things as well. But hopefully you'll get a chance to hear at least some of those tunes tonight. There are just so many albums to cover. We could probably do a whole season of Woody Herman. But we do hope you enjoy what we've selected for you tonight. This is the music of the bands of Woody Herman. One, two, one. Thank you. So that's kind of where things really started for Woody Herman. I think you'll see, we're going to cover very quickly on this first set his early years until about, we'll touch on the very beginning of some of his 70s stuff. So in just 8 tunes, we're going to go from that old time swing to more of a kind of a driving, a little bit more modern sound, kind of more world sounds. And then we'll get into some blues, and then we're going to get into something that I think, well, you definitely will recognize the main theme on that last one on the first set. All right, so that was Woodchoppers. I think you heard from Brian Schumacher up there on the saxophone, in the saxophone section, and myself on trumpet on that one. This next one is a lot of fun. This is one that was written by Joe Bishop, and it's called Apple Honey. Thank you. We got a lot of people on that one. I think it was Wayne Page up there on tenor, Paul Brightson on trombone, Nick Ruckert on piano. Who had the high notes up there on the clarinet? Brian on clarinet up there. And again toward the end there. And then Rishi Kalusu on the high notes on the trumpet back here at the end there too. All right, this next one was written in that same year by the same person, Joe Bishop. And this one is called The Good Earth. Thank you. That was Jim Romaine up on the clarinet and soprano, and Wayne Page once again on the tenor. One thing that's so fun as a listener is to go back and listen to some of those old albums and hear just how like intense that playing was, how like loud and intense the falls were and all this other stuff, in addition to very, very odd, at least to our modern ears, very odd and abrupt endings, sometimes which have like other players, like single players ending the tune like you just heard. So there's a lot of that in some of those old charts, and that just combined with the way they play, how the intensity that they use in their playing is actually really fun and funny in some cases. All right, we're going to continue then. This next one is one that you probably, if you have heard us play ever, you probably have heard this tune and probably had no idea that it was played by the Woody Herman Orchestra or one of his bands. This is one of probably the more famous tunes that we play on any given show, especially if it's like a best of night. This is Cousins, and this was arranged by John Coppola. Let's do three up front on guitar. One, two, two. All right. Man, that one feels good. It's always good to vent a little bit. You heard on trombone from John Lewis. And on the tenor saxophone, Mr. Brian Schumacher once again. So we made kind of a quick jump there, but The Good Earth was 1945, and the Cousins tune we just did was 61, sorry. Recorded in 62, but they first had that out there in 61. Along with these next two as well, kind of came out at the same time. So at this point, we're already into the time period with the Third Herd and beyond. We, either on next week or in the fall when we do this one again, we'll try to do, we might even do like, split it into 4 sets and cover like a lot more of his history there. But it is fun to get into all of this stuff too. And then later, here's some more stuff that's a little more modern yet and electric and all that. All right, this next one we're gonna do is a lot of fun. Along the same lines, this one was written by a great trumpeter, had a very famous group of his own, and his name's Bill Chase. And talk about a complete wall of trumpet sound, that group that he had. But he provided the same in Woody's band and also contributed quite a few charts for that band as well. But this is Bill Chase's Camel Walk. Camel Walk. That was Wayne Page on the tenor saxophone, Dave Carberdall on trumpet, Paul Bryson on trombone, Eric Krieger on the bass, and Jim Meckloff back here on the drums as well. All right, we're going to stick in that same time frame there. We're going to stay in 1962 one more time, actually two more times. Got some good tunes in there that we had in the book. This next one, very famous tune, and we have not played this tune in a long, long time, but it is a great standard out of the Woody Herman library, and we're going to enjoy the heck out of this one, and hope you do too. Before we play it, though, I wanted to say just a few acknowledge, notice. I wanted to notice a couple people out there. No, I wanted to acknowledge some people. First of all, thank you to Forrest for everything he's doing up there on the front and helping you guys get all settled and working the tickets. He's the man. Ben up on the soundboard working the sound tonight. And I'm trying to remember who all we have here. Danny and the rest of the staff here. Who all's here tonight?
Danny, Bailey.
Who? Bailey? Danny and Bailey? Danny and Bailey. Gotta like it. Let's give it up for Danny and Bailey. Yes. They will treat us right tonight, that's for sure. And also, finally, as far as Noce is concerned, well, not finally, second, what's the second? Penultimate? Wanted to say thank you to Max Wellman and Maria Riveras for having the vision to put a place like this together some 8 years ago now. The Des Moines Big Band was kind of floating around different places over a decade or two. Of course, as we were all growing up, it was at Spaghetti Works for the longest time, and then out at Adventureland Inn, and then out in Clive. And it was out in Clive at that time where Max came to me and said that there was this idea of Noce, this jazz club that they were thinking about putting or building downtown in a vacant building here. And he asked if we would want to move the Des Moines Big Band back to downtown after all these years. And I said, are you kidding me? Of course, we would love to come back downtown. That's where our home is. So we've been here as the house band now this is going on our 8th year. And we could not be happier, that's for sure. A lot of great things have happened. There's so many amazing shows. If you aren't yet signed up for the newsletter that the Des Moines Big Band has, make sure you get out soon to the Des Moines Big Band site, DesMoinesBigBand.com. Real easy to remember. You'll see a little pop-up. You can throw your email on there like most newsletters work. And we'll keep you abreast of all the cool stuff happening. We have another, as I mentioned, this show again after spring break. So in 2 weeks from tonight, and then we've got another few scattered shows of some of our best of nights where we pull some of our favorites out of the book, and then a couple nights of Buddy Rich. We have a vocal spotlight coming up on April 6th, and then Bob Washett's going to be coming down in May. I think it's May 4th. Incredible writer and educator, Dr. Bob Washett from the University of Northern Iowa, retired now. Great pianist, and he's going to be sitting at the piano doing a lot of his stuff there. And we'll feature as many of his tunes as we have in the book. So it's going to be a lot of fun ahead. We have, I wanted to say thank you also to our lead trombone player, Paul Bryson, for all the work that he puts into communicating what's happening out to all of you, our listeners, and taking care of the website and all those good things. He and his wife, Kelly, have done a bang-up job with all that stuff. We did want to say that we... on almost every Wednesday, tonight being one of those very few exceptions, we usually have an intermission performance program going where we have visiting bands perform during our intermission. It's usually schools, middle schools, high schools, and colleges. We also have a couple of community bands that have performed on that. And I think by the end of the season, we will have had about 34 or so bands visiting throughout the course of our season. And that's a great way for us to get connected with the schools or stay connected with the schools. A lot of us are either teaching at the schools or working with them in clinics and workshops and festivals and such. But it's a great way to get them in and talk to them and see what they're doing for their sets. Especially this time of year, they're getting ready for State Jazz Festival if they've been invited, or just some other concerts that they might have. We network with the band directors outside of the many that are in this band, and gives them a chance, those kids, to play in a real live jazz club. And there's, I don't know if you've been around the Midwest, but there are really only a small handful of places that are like this. This is the one, really, in Iowa. So all the jazz that tends to come through, international and national, that are looking for an Iowa spot, many times they will choose Noce as their location. To that, on that note, I would like you to make sure to sign up for Noce's newsletter as well, so that you can stay on top of all the great shows that Noce has here 4 nights a week. We are here every Wednesday, and then great stuff is happening Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday, so keep an eye out for those as well. Lots of great vocal things, other jazz. Thursday nights are free here if you want to invite some friends to just check it out. Thursday nights, what is that called again, the program on Thursdays, Wayne? Jazz on the House, thank you.
That means it's free.
Oh, are you? What do you have here? Tomorrow night for that, for Jazz on the House, Brian Schumacher will be here performing with pianist Jason Danielson. So please come out and see that. Free night, yes. Great night of jazz and drinks and all that good stuff. All right, I think we'll keep going with some music here. This next one we're going to do was an arrangement done by the great Nat Pierce, and again, 1962. This is Don't Get Around Much Anymore. That was Mr. John Morgan on the baritone saxophone, Paul Brightson on trombone, Dave Cobberdahl on the trumpet back here. So we've got a couple more for you. Another thing I wanted to do is make sure you knew who all you were listening to. You've heard from a lot of us, but I'll go ahead and introduce all the members of the band. We'll start with the saxophone section. The gentleman you just heard up there on the baritone saxophone, once again, John Morgan. Wayne Page on tenor. Jim Romaine on lead alto. Josh Ingham on alto and other things. Brian Schumacher on the tenor. The trombone section, on the bass trombone, Chad Thorson. John Lewis on trombone. Paul Brightson once again on lead bone. And Tom Rankin on trombone. The trumpet section, down here on your right, Mr. Dave Cobberdahl. Rishi Kalusu on trumpet. Chris Strohmeyer on trumpet. And we'll move over to the rhythm section here. On piano, Nick Ruckert. Jeff Lind on guitar. Eric Krieger on the bass. And the gentleman that's been with this band by just a little bit, the longest, back when this band was formed at Drake University as part of a Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia group, before it turned into more of an official thing. It's Mr. Jim Eckloff back here on the drums. And my name is Dave Rezek, and I've had the great pleasure of leading this band for about 8 years or so. Jim Oates, who retired from the band before that, the spring of the year before we started here at Noce, ended up going out to Philadelphia with his kids. Eventually, they all ended up out in Philadelphia, and they're doing all kinds of great things out there. One of his sons, Chris, is leading his own groups and studied with the great Dick Oates, who, of course, is his uncle. And but he's doing all kinds of great stuff, things on his own out there. And then Jim is, I think, still playing a little bit and doing some other hobbies and such out there. So if you're listening, Jim, we miss you, and we'd love to have you guys come out here and visit and sit in and do all kinds of music with us again. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do that this next year. All right, we got a couple more for you. We're going to once again do a 1962 tune, which we've done many times over the years here. This one is called Molasses, and it was written by Joe Newman. Molasses. That was Paul Brightson again on trombone. Josh Ingham on the alto saxophone there. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back up, and we will start the second half with the 1970s. And we'll take you through the 70s and 80s into the more intense and more electric sounding stuff of Woody Herman's. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Please stick around. Lots of hard driving, amazing writing coming right up. Order some more drinks. We'll do the same, and we'll rejoin in about 20, 25 minutes. That's what I'm talking about. That was based on an Eric Copeland tune, but a Gary Anderson arrangement of Fanfare for the Common Man. And you heard from Jim Romaine on the soprano saxophone, Brian Schumacher on the tenor sax up there, with some Jim Egloff on the drums back here as well. Man, those albums that kind of came out of the 70s and 80s are what I and my high school friends would listen to all the time, because back when I was at Hoover in the 80s with Ron Battani as director before he left, we played a lot of Woody Herman and Rob McConnell and Count Basie and a little bit of Ellington and some Buddy Rich, and we were injected with all that big band stuff, and it was just kind of, as you can imagine, ran the gamut of sounds and stuff. It was just a lot of fun, and this was kind of, you know, a jazzers rock out band listening to that album. Just lots of cool stuff there. We're going to continue in that vein. We've got a couple more from the mid-'70s there. This next tune will not sound quite so hard driving and electric, a little bit more bebop, and we're going to do a tune that'll feature a couple of us on trumpet on here. We're going to do a little bit of some plunger work on this next one. This is a Frank Lesser tune arranged by Tony Klatka and performed by the Woody Herman Orchestra. This is Brotherhood of Man.
Let's just.
Here we go. Let's play. One, two, three.
Oh man, that was fun. Yeah, one more time. That was, once again, Dave Cabradal on trumpet. And myself on trumpet on that one too. Man, sometimes it's fun to just grab the plunger and just get some of that crazy energy out for the week. All right. Yeah, a little bit. All right, we're going to slow things down. And we're going to stay in 1976, same year, but we're going to do a beautiful, beautiful ballad. This one's going to... and we're going to feature Rishi Kalusu on trumpet on this one. And this is an arrangement by, this was Bill Stapleton's on Come Rain or Come Shine. DS goes back to C if you have it, and then coda. That's about it. One, two, three, and four. Rishi Caluso on trumpet back here. Right. Now we're going to kind of go back to the same vibe that we had on fanfare just a little bit and spend a couple tunes getting pretty funky here, which his band did back then at this time, and play a couple of my favorites from those albums back then. The first one we're going to do, and I should say the next three we're going to do are all written by John Otto. And this first one of the three is called John Brown's Other Body. Thank you. That was Josh Ingham on the flute there, and Wayne Page on the tenor saxophone. We're going to keep in that funky mode and do another one of John Otto's. This one's called North Beach Breakdown. All right, we're missing a couple parts on that one, as it turns out. So we're going to go to a beautiful ballad called another of John Otto's. This is called Especially for You. Mr. Wayne Page on the tenor saxophone. And that took us through 1981 with several of John Otto's there for that particular album. And then we moved to Woody's last year with the band, at least where he was still going strong. They went on tour the year prior to him passing away. This was in 1986, did a 50th anniversary tour that I mentioned earlier, and put an album together for that. To commemorate that. And it's a very cool double album, and the last three came from that album there. All three are actually written or arranged by a great trombone player and friend of ours, John Fedchak from New York, who was on tour with Woody's band for some time. And he wrote some great charts for that band, and of course he's got his own band in New York at this time and does all kinds of great and amazing things. So these last three are his arrangements. We're going to start out with a Don Grolnick tune that he arranged called Pools. Just give you three, subdivided 16ths. Were we doing pencil repeat from 81 to bar before 98? Yes. Okay, so we're going to repeat. Two bars.
No, we're not doing that.
No pencil, okay.
It's as written.
As written, okay. Just play the.
Erase it.
Thank you. All right.
Welcome to our rehearsal.
She concurs. All right, here we go.
Got paid double for that.
John Fedjak's Pools. That was Jim Romaine once again on the soprano saxophone. Brian Schumacher on the tenor saxophone. All right, we've got one more slow one before we send you off with some blues tonight. Another John Fedjak arrangement, again 1986. That's pretty much the story on all these here. This next one is a beautiful arrangement of John Fedjak's of John Coltrane's Central Park West.
Just right there. Here we go. 1, 2, 3,
Brian Schumacher on the tenor saxophone. What a gorgeous arrangement. All right. Thank you once again, everybody, for being here, for sticking around for the second half. Again, we will have another Woody Herman show in 2 weeks from tonight with probably a few extra things tossed in there. So you'll hear some things new on that next one. Hope you enjoyed tonight. Everybody had a good time tonight, I hope? Cool. The band did. Yeah, good. I'm glad that you guys did too. We're huge fans of Woody's, and we actually had this all put together, or we're starting to get rehearsals lined up for performing this 2 years ago when everything stopped. So this is the first time we've actually done this show with a lot of these tunes. So we're very happy that you were a part of that with us tonight. We're going to close things out tonight with John Fedchuk's arrangement. Composition and arrangement of Blues for Red. And this one will get tossed around just a little bit for a few more people. Thanks once again to all of you and to everyone who might have joined us online tonight as well, to the staff and owners here at Noce and to the band and everyone else. We had a great time. And we'll see you next time. This is Blues for Red.
You're at your quota already. For veto. Your veto quota. It's open at the front. Everybody takes three each. Here we go. Here we go. 6. Yeah, let's do. Or we can open this up. Who wants one? We got piano, bass. Anyone else? Small one?
Bass trombone. Nope. No?
Yeah, we'll just keep
Okay.
it. Keep it up.
Oboe.
Let's just go
Oboe.
6. 6
Great.
times.
Yep. Play the ink.
Piano, bass, Q13, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
3, 3. 1, 2, 2, 3.
Thank you. That is your Des Moines Big Band playing the music of great Woody Herman. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Please drive safely, and we'll catch you in a couple weeks. Have a good week next week.